And we've talked about those. We continue to talk about those with Russia. If Russia wants to come back to us with serious proposals, of course, we'll listen to and consider those.
Now, from your point of view, and your allies, of course, there are a number of elements that need to be put in place before we get this process going. Now, on the other side, they're saying all you have to do is really basically separate the terrorists from the moderate opposition. Why is that so difficult? Why is that so undoable? I mean, if you can, if you can leverage,
sure.
And
we've talked about that. It's a valid question. I mean, we've talked about that, and that was one of the things that we accepted coming out of Geneva. Incumbent on us to exert that kind of influence to make sure that the moderate Syrian opposition clearly got that message. You're either with the moderate forces who are part of the cessation of hostilities, or you're with Nusrah. I think what happens when you have the reality of Aleppo with renewed airstrikes, with renewed fighting, with the renewed government regime offensive on the ground, that, we've talked about this before, that only drives the moderate opposition into the arms of Nusrah, and it only stokes that extremism. Yeah, please, I'll get to you in a second.
That the moderate opposition is in any way intently or by happenstance is giving cover to the Nusrah? I mean, are they coordinating with them? Some of these moderate opposition, maybe they don't want to separate.
I mean, and that's ultimately, as I said,
what happens in this case?
Yeah, I mean, well, what happens, again, if we get the cessation of hostilities in place for 7 days, and the regime would ground its air forces, and we talked about that, and that was all part of the Geneva Agreement. Then at that point, you're either with the moderate opposition or you're part of Nusra, and if you're either signed up and you've removed and disengaged, or you're part of Nusra. We've talked about that. That's where really the way forward becomes concrete. Which the moderate opposition would have to choose. At this point in time, we are not there. Please.
Now, let me just